For the last few weeks I have been starting to play Project Zomboid. This video will summarize the most helpful tips that I got in the comments on my previous videos. Since I am still a beginner, I had experience by applying all these tips and eventually got a good insight on what tips worked best for me to stay alive longer, which is eventually the goal of the game. Without further ado, let's get to the tips. So we start with choosing our map. I always like to start in Rosewood. You have the fire department, which is a nice starting base. It also has a police station nearby the fire department where you can fight weapons. You could also choose Riverside. These two spawning villages are known to be the easiest, so if you're a beginner, choose one of them. So the second tip is whenever you want to enter a building and you can't open the window, you can smash in the window, but make sure to remove the glass from the windows in order to prevent bleeding. But always make sure that you can't open the window by yourself. You can then eventually remove the glass when you wear a tool or a weapon. So whenever you got bitten or scratched or whatever and you're bleeding, make sure to apply bandages, otherwise you could bleed to death. Bandages can be found by looting or can be crafted by ripping apart clothes. And since clothes are a lot easier to acquire, it would be a lot more convenient to use this strategy whenever you need bandages. So the next tip is for fighting. Whenever you're in a fight and you want to fight a couple of zombies at the same time, it is convenient to stand upon the zombies. In this way they can't stand up. This makes it easier to also fight other zombies. It should be said that you should not take on more than 2 or 3 zombies at the beginning, because it can be very hard to kill them as a beginner. So the next tip is pretty quick but necessary nonetheless. Whenever you find a weapon that can be wielded in both hands, do it. It makes you a lot stronger compared to weapons that are wielded in only one hand. This eventually makes you able to kill zombies a lot quicker. The next tip is actually one of my favorite tips of all of them, and that is to watch Life and Living in the first week. It gives you a very good amount of XP in carpenting, cooking and a couple of other skills. These skills come at a certain time on the TV. Whenever you loot a zombie, make sure to get a watch. This is handy in order to keep track of time and to make sure that you are on time to watch your favorite program. Just make sure to turn down the volume, as the TV can make a lot of noise attracting nearby zombies. I hereby show you the schedule for the different skills. At 6 there's always cooking in the first 7 days. At 12 there's always carpeting, and in the evening at 18 hours different skills are showcased on the TV depending on the day. The XP you gather can also be increased by reading books. These books can be found in bookcases. Note that you always start with reading volume 1, as these go hand in hand with the first few levels of a skill. Don't go actively looking for books in stores and stuff, because there are a lot of zombies over there. Just read one if you happen to stumble upon it. That's most of the times the most safe strategy. So the next tip is stop running. It makes a lot of noise and will only attract more zombies. It also uses a lot of your stamina, which is pretty important in the beginning of your save. Exhaustion can cost you a lot of your damage eventually, and you can easily outwalk the zombies. Only run if you are really in trouble or if you want to break the line of sight with a zombie. This tip is a bit of a cheat, but very helpful, and you can always choose if you want to use this tip. There is actually an interactive map, which you can find via this link, map.projectzomboid.com. This gives you a good overview of the whole map, so you eventually don't get lost. And if you get lost, you can often find your way back home. I often got lost in my first few saves and was tired of not knowing where I was going. The map makes navigation a lot more convenient, and for beginners this is a lot more fun. Next tip is about luring zombies. Whenever you want to go to a place that's crowded, it's easier to lure the zombies away from the place instead of finding them. You can do this through using a car or by shouting, which you can do with Q. When you have them far away from the place you want to go, loop around and break line of sight, and this eventually makes you able to visit this crowded place without zombies trying to eat you. So the last tip is the ultimate tip and the most helpful tip probably, and that is trying to be patient. You have to work slow and not rush things. It can lead to overconfidence, which I had in my previous video, and this will eventually kill you. Always analyze your risk, as otherwise you will be dead before you know it. Hopefully these tips could be a little bit useful for you. And if they did, please leave a like. And as always, thank you for watching.